Donald Trump grew up in Queens, New York, in a pretty wealthy family. His father, Fred Trump, was a big real estate developer who built middle-income housing. Donald was the fourth of 5 kids. Growing up, he had a lot of energy, sometimes too much. So when he was 13, his parents sent him to the New York Military Academy to straighten him out a bit. At the academy, he actually did pretty well. He became a student leader and even played sports, like baseball and football. Even early on, he was really competitive and very focused on winning and being the best. His family expected success, and that shaped a lot of who he became later. Donald's relationship with his parents, especially his father Fred, had a huge impact on him. Fred Trump was very tough, strict, and incredibly focused on business and success. He didn't really show a lot of warmth. Donald admired him but also felt pressure to live up to his expectations. Fred pushed his kids to be killers in business, meaning they had to be aggressive and never back down. That attitude really stuck with Donald. His mother, Mary Ann Trump, was a Scottish immigrant. She was a bit more traditional and religious, but she was less involved in Donald's upbringing day to day compared to Fred. Donald has described her as very loving, but Fred was the one who set the tone for discipline and ambition in the household. As a teenager at the New York Military Academy, Donald started to shine. He was given leadership roles and learned to be very competitive. He liked the idea of commanding respect, being the leader, not the follower. That craving for dominance became a core part of his personality later. Teachers and classmates from back then said he could be charming when he wanted to be, but also brash and super confident. There's even a story that Donald would sometimes sneak off campus to Manhattan because he was so fascinated by the city's energy and power. He already had this sense that he wanted to be big, famous, and influential, not just another businessman. After military school, Donald Trump went to Fordham University in the Bronx for 2 years. But he wasn't really satisfied there. He wanted something bigger and more prestigious. So he transferred to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, which had, and still has, one of the best real estate programs in the country. That move was partly strategic. He knew he'd eventually work for, or with, his dad, and having a Wharton degree gave him extra credibility. At Wharton, he wasn't known for being a standout student academically, but he paid close attention to business and real estate classes. According to people who knew him then, he already carried himself like a big shot, very confident, dressing sharply, telling people he was going to be famous. Even back then, Trump loved to project an image of success, sometimes even before the success was real. After graduating in 1968, Donald immediately joined his father's real estate company, which was then called Elizabeth Trump & Son. Early on, he helped with renting and managing apartments, but very quickly, he wanted more. He wanted to move into Manhattan, where the big, glamorous deals were happening. Fred, being more conservative, thought Manhattan was too risky, but Donald was ambitious and convinced he could handle it. That push to move beyond what his father had built, to go bigger, flashier, and more public, is really what shaped his version of success. He wanted to not just be rich, he wanted to be famous for being rich. One of Donald Trump's first major projects, the one that really started building his name, was the Commodore Hotel deal in the mid-1970s. At the time, New York City was struggling financially, and a lot of once glamorous places were falling apart. The Commodore Hotel, right next to Grand Central Terminal, was this huge, historic hotel that had become run down and was losing money like crazy. Most people thought it was a lost cause. Donald, still in his 20s, saw an opportunity. He made a bold move. He negotiated a deal to buy the Commodore through his family connections and using very little of his own money, and partner with the Hyatt hotel chain to redevelop it. But here's the thing. The project only made sense if he could get massive tax breaks from the city, because it would cost a fortune to fix up. So Donald went straight to city officials, lobbied hard, and got a 40-year tax abatement, which was almost unheard of. It meant he wouldn't have to pay standard property taxes for decades, making the project way more profitable. He renovated the hotel into what became the Grand Hyatt Hotel with flashy mirrored glass on the outside. It was very Trump style, bold, shiny, meant to stand out. When the Grand Hyatt opened in 1980, it was a hit. It made Donald Trump a real player in Manhattan real estate, and a name the press started paying attention to. This deal really set the blueprint for how he'd operate. Big, risky moves, heavy use of publicity, leveraging relationships and negotiation, building things that grabbed attention. After the Grand Hyatt success, Donald Trump was feeling unstoppable, and he wanted to make an even bigger, flashier statement. That's when he started working on what would become Trump Tower. In the late 70s, Trump set his sights on a prime piece of real estate on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, one of the most famous and expensive streets in the world. The spot he wanted was where an old department store called Bonwit Teller was located. It was owned by a company that was struggling, so Donald managed to buy the air rights and the building itself after some aggressive negotiation. The plan was crazy ambitious. Build a 68-story luxury skyscraper, unheard of at the time for a private residential building. Make it ultra-glamorous, pink marble everywhere, brass finishes, a huge indoor waterfall. Fill it with high-end shops, restaurants, and luxury condos that would sell for record prices. Construction started around 1979, and like with everything Trump did, the project was surrounded by controversy. Demolishing the old Bonwit Teller building upset a lot of people, especially after Trump's team destroyed two historic decorative sculptures that the Metropolitan Museum of Art wanted to save. He didn't care. He was focused on the bigger prize. When Trump Tower opened in 1983, it instantly became a symbol of wealth, status, and Trump himself. Celebrities bought apartments there. Luxury brands wanted stores there. And Donald Trump made sure he was front and center in the media every step of the way. It was the perfect storm. Trump wasn't just a real estate guy anymore. He was becoming a brand. The success of Trump Tower made him rich, famous, and gave him the image he would ride for decades, the flashy billionaire who always thought bigger than anyone else. After the huge success of Trump Tower, Donald Trump didn't just stay a real estate mogul. He started actively building himself into a celebrity. Even in the 80s, he understood something a lot of business people didn't. Publicity is power. Being famous could open doors that just being rich couldn't. He did a few smart things. He constantly gave interviews, sometimes making outrageous statements just to get headlines. He got himself on the cover of magazines like Time, GQ, and Forbes. He wrote a book, had help writing it, The Art of the Deal, in 1987, which became a massive bestseller. It wasn't just a business book, it sold Donald Trump as a character, the ultimate dealmaker, the winner, the guy who always got what he wanted. The book's success basically made him a household name. After that, he started popping up all over pop culture. Cameos in movies, Home Alone 2, Zoolander, The Little Rascals. Constant coverage in the tabloids, his dating life, divorces, flashy lifestyle. He even owned beauty pageants, Miss Universe and Miss USA for a while, which kept him constantly in the media. Then, in the early 2000s, The Apprentice happened. NBC basically built a whole reality show around his image as the ultimate boss. The catchphrase, "You're fired," became legendary. It made him relevant to a whole new generation who didn't even really know him for real estate anymore. They just saw him as the powerful billionaire figure from TV. The Apprentice helped him reinvent himself after some rough financial years in the 90s when he had almost gone bankrupt. So by the time he ran for president in 2015, Donald Trump had already spent decades crafting this larger-than-life, always in the spotlight brand. It wasn't sudden. It was a strategy he had been working on since he was in his 20s. While Donald Trump had some big wins early on, like the Grand Hyatt and Trump Tower, the late 1980s and early 1990s were rough. He was expanding fast, maybe too fast, and borrowing a ton of money to do it. He bought casinos in Atlantic City, a yacht, an airline, Trump shuttle, and even tried to build the tallest building in the world. But then, the real estate market crashed in the early 90s. Interest rates were high, and Trump was over-leveraged, meaning he had way more debt than cash coming in. At one point, he owed billions, yes, billions, and came close to total financial collapse. One infamous moment, his net worth was reportedly so low that a homeless man on the street had a higher net worth than Trump, because Trump's was negative. But here's the twist. Instead of totally folding, Trump pulled off a move only he could. He convinced the banks it was better to keep him afloat than to let him go under. Why? Because his name was tied to everything, and if he failed, it would cost them even more. So they restructured his debt, gave him more time, and he slowly rebuilt. Over the next 2 decades, he focused more on branding than building. He started licensing the Trump name to buildings he didn't actually own, just collecting fees. Hotels, golf courses, steaks, vodka, ties, water. If you could put his name on it, he'd try to sell it. Some things worked, others flopped hard. Trump Steaks and Trump University were disasters. The latter ended in lawsuits and a $25 million settlement. But the point is, he never stopped selling the image of success, even when the reality was shaky. So by the time he launched his presidential campaign in 2015, a lot of people saw him as the ultimate self-made billionaire, even though the truth was way more complicated. Big wins. Grand Hyatt Hotel, 1978 to 1980, his first major Manhattan success, made him a serious player. Trump Tower, 1983, the iconic skyscraper that became a symbol of his brand. The Apprentice, 2004 to 2017, huge TV success that relaunched his celebrity status and wealth. Trump International Hotel and Tower Chicago, 2009, despite delays, it's a major luxury property that added to his brand strength. Brand licensing, slapping his name, Trump, on other people's real estate projects worldwide, made him money with very little risk. Big flops. Trump Airlines, 1989 to 1992, bought a struggling airline, tried to make it luxury. It flopped hard, and he defaulted on the loans. Trump Casinos in Atlantic City, early 90s. Trump Taj Mahal, Trump Plaza, Trump Marina, all filed for bankruptcy at different times. He lost hundreds of millions there. Trump Steaks, 2007, sold through Sharper Image, yes, the gadget store. People joked about how weird it was. Failed almost instantly. Trump University, 2005 to 2010, a real estate school that led to massive lawsuits for fraud. He ended up paying a $25 million settlement. Trump Vodka, 2006, launched with a lot of hype, success distilled, but hardly anyone bought it, and it fizzled out within a few years. Big picture. His real estate ventures made him a big figure in New York. His branding and TV fame made him a national figure. His business record is a mix of huge wins, massive flops, and constant reinvention. He was always better at marketing himself than at running the businesses perfectly. Trump's wealth. Real estate versus branding. Media. 1. Real estate. Majority of his net worth. Estimated 60–75% of his wealth. This includes Trump Tower, commercial buildings, hotels, golf resorts, and other properties he actually owns. Most of his real long-term value is tied up in buildings, especially in NYC, DC, and Miami. Golf courses are a big chunk too, though they're less profitable. 2. Branding and licensing, estimated 15–20%. He made tens of millions licensing his name to developers, especially internationally. Buildings like Trump Ocean Club in Panama, Trump International in Toronto. He didn't own them, just licensed the name. Also included things like Trump ties, cologne, mattresses, etc. 3. Media and entertainment, TV, books, estimated 10–15%. The Apprentice alone earned him around $200 million plus over 14 seasons. Salary, bonuses, and boosted licensing income. Books like The Art of the Deal and others earned millions too. All of this boosted his visibility, which then fed back into real estate and branding. So while most people think of Trump as just a real estate mogul, a huge part of his wealth came from simply being famous and turning that fame into money. He turned his name into a product, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It would help us grow.